Welcome back to BYoungMinistry.com, to another blog and to another podcast. Welcome to those who access the podcast through Apple Podcasts, Rumble, Spotify, and YouTube. Today we continue our study in the Gospel according to Matthew. We're in chapter 14, verses 22 through 24, which reads, Immediately Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. Now when evening came, he was alone there, but the boat was now in the middle of the sea, tossed by the waves, for the wind was contrary. That's Matthew chapter 14, verses 22 through 24. Today we continue our study of Matthew chapter 14, where we have learned about the beheading of John the Baptist at the hands of Herod Agrippa. Herod really didn't want to murder John, even though he had imprisoned him for calling him on the carpet for his adulterous relationship with his brother's wife. This chapter also includes the only miracle recorded in all four gospel accounts, the feeding of the 5,000 plus, with just 5 loaves and 2 fish. The Lord Jesus fed all those people because a small boy was willing to part with his small meal. We cannot begin to understand today's passage until we see, like John the Baptist and the boy with the 5 loaves and 2 fish, that our God-given trials are designed to help us to be defined by the idea of more of him and less of me. In verse 22 of today's passage we read, Immediately Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. The Lord Jesus made his disciples get into the boat without him. Sometimes in our walk with the Lord, he makes us do things that we would just rather not do. But once we get through the unwanted moments of life, and there's always a huge blessing waiting just on the other side of that unwanted. When the Lord made his disciples get into the boat, they were on the northeastern shore of the Sea of Galilee. In order to row to Capernaum, they had to parallel the shore on the way back. As they rowed across the northern tip of the lake, they stayed close to the shore, for they expected the Lord Jesus to meet them somewhere along the way. In verse 23 of today's passage we read, And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. Now when evening came, he was alone there. It is through the Lord Jesus that we have been justified before God, but we are also being continually saved from this world's faulty way of thinking. This is why the Lord Jesus prays for us even now. All of this is called sanctification in the Bible. Our sanctification is brought about by our choices to draw nearer to God as we choose to be defined by him. We know that we are being defined by him when we obey him. People who draw near to God become like him as he expresses himself to us and through us. We resemble what we worship. In Hebrews chapter 7 and verse 25 we read, Therefore he is able to save completely those who come to God through him, because he always lives to intercede for them. Essential to any ministry is prayer. Essential to anything worthwhile is to talk to God about it first. After the Lord sent the huge crowd back to their homes, he went up into the hills to pray. Prayer provides the fuel for our walk with the Lord. Almost nothing decays so fast in the fallen human heart as the desire to talk to God. Therefore, we must make it our habit to talk with the Father about all things. Nothing is more vital to our sanctification than prayer, and few things are more vulnerable to neglect. According to Mark's and Luke's Gospels, the disciples of the Lord Jesus had been successful in ministry previous to all the events that had taken place already in Matthew chapter 14. And right on the heels of that success, they discovered they could not feed the 5,000 men, women, and children on the side of that hill next to the Sea of Galilee. It was in that moment that they were at their best, but they felt differently. They felt like losers in the moment. We are at our best when we are most convinced that we need God. We are at our best when we are most dependent upon the Lord. This is why prayer is so vital. In verse 24 of today's passage we read, "But the boat was now in the middle of the sea, tossed by the waves, for the wind was contrary." The Sea of Galilee is 680 feet below sea level, while the Dead Sea is 1,290 feet below sea level. Since the entire water chain along the Jordan is below sea level, it is a magnet for storms. The afternoon breezes blow in off the Mediterranean Sea, funneling through the canyons. Since some of the surrounding mountains are 2,000 feet in height, the winds blow in quickly and quite suddenly. When the warm air off the Sea of Galilee mixes with the cool air from the canyons, a funnel of air with great velocity often is created. And through their creation, severe storms happen on the Sea of Galilee. To this day, the winds are so intense that they have been known to easily capsize massive boats. It was around 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was so dark the rowing disciples could not see the shore. To make matters worse, a strong wind began blowing. To this day in that area, the wind blows suddenly out of the north from the mountains, down the valley and across the lake toward the south. It was then that the wind drove the disciples' boat southward, and they lost sight of the shore, and all possibility of picking up the Lord Jesus was lost. Before not too much longer, the disciples found themselves right in the middle of the lake, far south of their intended target. Frustration for these fishermen who had navigated these waters so many times before was at an all-time high. Trials in our lives, no matter their form, always give us fits. But with those fits are granted the opportunity to be taught by the Lord Jesus in the most unique of ways. His goal through it all is to grant to us a deeper intimacy with himself. The most important lesson that we will ever be granted is that it is only the Lord Jesus who can grant us peace in the midst of our storms. The Lord Jesus deliberately caused or allowed this trial in order to bring about the miracle in the lives of these disciples. He had sent them off to the dark night, and he deliberately delayed his coming so that they might learn what he could do during such a moment of trouble. The beauty of it all is that it is through these dark and tense moments that we learn to see him better, that we learn to look for him with our hearts. It is moments like this that we are most likely to look for the Lord Jesus most intensely. And when we see him, we will invite him further into our existence, and thus enjoy greater intimacy with our God. My friends, I trust this blog and this podcast are helping you in your walk with the Lord. If I can be of further assistance to you, shoot me an email at BYoungMinistry@gmail.com. Hey, Have a great day.